This new generation of kids are a lot different from many of you out there. They don't know life without social media. While we may be a few decades deep, who wrote that? I may not be decades deep in the digital age. Teacher Hannah Siegel is calling out parents who let their children scroll on apps out directly. Take a look at this.
And I'm just going to say, you guys are allowing the internet to raise your children. They go to school 6 to 8 hours a day. They have extracurriculars. They come home, they do homework, and then they're on their tablets, they're on their phones. I worked with 4th, 5th grade girls, 6th grade girls. They should not have TikTok. They should not. They do not need to have access to. These 4th grade girls are on the playground twerking. They are so mean and catty to each other. They're literally bullying each other because one girl's parents can't afford to give her Lululemon. They're body shaming each other in 5th grade. And this is because parents are not monitoring their children's internet access.
Is she being harsh or just keeping it all the way real? Joining us to talk about it, parents Lewis Hunter, Rochelle Gemini, and therapist Dr. Christine Belliard. So, Lewis, are they being harsh or what? You know, go ahead. I'll tell you my theory.
It's more. I think it's more than anecdotal. I think we hear a lot of parents say things like, "Oh, well, you know, he's always online. You know, she's always online." You know, but these are things that you gave your children. You want them to stay offline? Don't give a 4th grader a phone. You know, I mean, and what has changed about the culture that children are growing up into is that now we've got a generation of boys who dress like girls from the 80s and teenage girls who dress like hookers. You know, and that's what has happened. You know, and it's all encompassing. You know, if you've got, and when people talk about bullying, the biggest bully is the internet. You know, if you've got an ugly kid, keep the kid offline if you don't want that kid getting bullied. You know, and that's what happens. So if you want your kid to have self-image issues or body image issues, keep them off the internet, at least until they're old enough to have a strong enough sense about themselves that it doesn't affect them. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I don't even know what to do now, right?
Look, my mom always told me they're going to find something on you.
Absolutely.
And, you know, just find the thing that you have to find the love for yourself. My mom was very intentional as a mother. I'm very intentional as a mother as well. So even though my kids have an Oculus, they have iPads, they have all the things, we still have screen time. As much as, you know, we watched TV back in the day and we had the commercial, they'd be like, turn off that TV. There's still a parenting that has to come about even with the technology that is, you know, around us. And there still has to be some type of, you know, security that happens when you're watching it. My sons are 10 and 11, so as I'm watching them, I'll be like, what you watching? Let me get engaged with it. Talk to me about the things you like to watch. Let me show you some things that I want you to watch. With my sons, as they were growing up, I'll be like, you gotta watch one video of Spanish, one video of Chinese, and then you can watch a video that you want to watch, and then you need to go outside. I schedule my children to go do the things that they want to do, but I also let them use it as a tool. I don't just let them use it as fools.
Before the doctor speaks, let me say this. My 2 boys, at 10 years old, if I were 10 years old and I had unfettered access to the internet, I'm looking at porn. Let me make this crystal clear. That's what I'm doing. You know, these kids nowadays, when my boys were around that age, they started taking baths. You know, again, the showers started becoming longer. Social, you know, I mean, I know what's going on.
I understand where you're coming from as a dad that understands being a man and being a boy. I also am very intentional with my children. One of the things that I do with my children is I keep it very honest with them. I ask them if they like girls. I ask them all the things that I feel like they should know. I tell them to be honest with me because I'm a very open parent. I'm a very chill parent. I'm not as, you know, strict on them as most parents are. So they keep it very honest with me. As far as watching all of that right now, I don't think my children are doing that at this moment. I know you can have your own little situation of what you're doing, but at the same time, my children are still children because I've also made sure that they enjoy being a child and not just be like, I gotta grow up.
All right, let's have the experts say something.
Well, I just think, and I'm also a mother of a 4th grader and a 2nd grader, so I'm right here with you. And it is easy, I gotta be real. As parents, we are overwhelmed. We are still trying to come back from COVID, and we're or the tablet, I'm going to be honest, did a lot of the work. So it is one of those things where you do have to be intentional. I love that. But I think we also can't just parent blame. This is one of the highest times in our society where parents are isolated. The grandmas are catching flights now. It's not how it used to be where grandma's there worried about what we're eating for dinner. Grandma is trying to get to Fiji. So it's one of those things where I'm serious. Like I'm saying, because even my own mom, you know. So it's one of those things where it is important to find a community where if you're overwhelmed, like, hey, can you tag in?
A good village.
A good village in your neighborhood and at the school, get to know some of the other moms. Like, I know I created like a group with some of the moms at my school, and at my kids' school. It helps so much where I can be honest and say, hey, and we take turns. Like, who wants to watch the kids? Some of us can go out and do other things just because we are overwhelmed. So I think it's easy to blame parents, but also how can we support parents?
Right.
And when we talk about what this teacher talked about, twerking and all of that, and many of us, we will watch social media and feel embarrassed about those children that we're seeing and saying, why are their parents allowing that? So your thoughts on that really quick, Lewis, and we'll take a break and come back.
Don't give them a phone. I mean, my children, I understand the excuse of, well, you know, what if an emergency happens? You know, we grew up and we didn't have access to phones. You know, you had to, the only way you had a phone at 15 is if you sold crack when I was coming up. You know, that's just what it was.
When did you come up?
I graduated in '92. You know, that's just what it was. And now, you know, we act like children need these things. They really don't. You know, we had a phone, you know, that my three children.
We'll finish that thought in a second.
Okay.
Just imagine, I was waved in slavery days. We're allowing social media to raise our children. We'll continue with Lewis's thought.
As I was saying, we had one cell phone between three children, you know, and if one of them went to the movies, they took the cell phone. You know, but this was before the Wi-Fi and the internet access, and you could Google everything. You know, this was legit a phone in case you needed a call. You know, it was kind of the
Nokia with the snake.
Absolutely, it represented a quarter, so you can use a payphone. You know, and so we as parents make the decision to give our kids this unfettered just world of information. And what they're doing with it is they're going online and learning behaviors. They're learning behaviors and what appearance fits in, and when they hit the real world and they realize that they don't look like that, it gives kids, I can imagine girls, I think that there have been studies done that show that the internet, Instagram in particular, affects girls in such a negative way that they come out with this negative body image, depression. It compounds a lot of negative things in their upbringing.
Same for boys, and that's a good point, that there is a lot of impact from social media. But one thing I'll say, even if your child does not have a phone, their friend does.
Wow.
And at school, they have to use now different types of technological devices. So I don't think the answer is just don't give your kids a phone. I love what you mentioned, Rochelle, about really being intentional. Because again, when that friend at school wants to show the porn or what have you, do they have enough self-agency to say, I'm not even on that? And if they are, you know, like allowing them to be their own monitor of what's important to them, what's not, and why.
Right.
All right, last 20 seconds.
And I have a thing. I have a journal called Creating Moments for Parents and Children on Amazon. It's called Creating Moments, where you can intentionally ask your children, did you like this? How do you feel we can get better? How do you feel like, instead of just saying, how was your day? Fine. How was your day? Cool. Creating moments. Look it up. It's a really good thing. I do it with my sons all the time because I don't just want that one answer word. I want to get to know them.
All right. Thank you guys for joining. Lewis just doesn't buy it. He doesn't buy it. We'll be back with more Factor after this.